Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a Memorial Day edition of We Got Next. I'm Rick Hampton with my great friend and Milwaukee Bucks legend, Paul Mokeski, coming to you on a Monday. I hope everybody's had a great day out there celebrating with their family and taking a little time out to pay homage to everyone who served and uh, went on to protect this great country. My father was a veteran of the Army and very proud veteran, and kudos to him and all the others who sacrificed for us, Mo.
Yeah, both my mom and my dad served in the Air Force, and we have to, everybody's having a great time and enjoying the sun and the pool and whatever and the travel. There's over 300,000 people that came here to Vegas for the weekend. But
Wow.
we always have to remember what we're celebrating for the men and
Yeah.
women that
Yeah.
sacrificed greatly for their family, with their families, to have us have this great country that we can never forget. Uh, what they did for us.
Yeah. And Mo, and we got to start the show off tonight. And first of all, welcome to all our viewers out there, our great friends at Sport Fluent. Make sure you check us out at Sports Fluent on YouTube. And uh, but Mo, we got to start the show off on a sad note. One of the great players in the history of basketball, a great competitor, somebody you battled with on many occasions. The great Bill Walton passed away today at the age of 71. Your thoughts on Big Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I posted today on Facebook. I grew up in Southern California and was a UCLA fan from when I was little, and I remember watching Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when he was with UCLA when I was in grade school, and and the great John Wooden, and then when I was in high school when Bill Walton was at UCLA, and just watching him on tape delay 11 o'clock on Friday nights because they didn't have live games on very much back then. And, I remember watching him, and, he was a big guy, but he could pass and shoot. He had that kind of funky jumper where he put his hands together and he knew how to bank it off the glass. Great. People don't understand. Great athlete. When you go to UCLA and you go into Pauley Pavilion, there's pictures of all the greats in there. And there's two pictures that stood out to me for a long time. One is of Lou Alcindor, and it's from back court looking up, and he's trying to block. He's blocking a shot, and he's jumping, and his head's about level with the rim, and his hand's about at the top of the backboard, and it's from the back basket. And they have a picture of Bill Walton in the exact same angle doing the exact same thing.
Wow.
And I was a 7-footer in Southern California. Watched Bill Walton win championships. The great John Wooden playing at Pauley Pavilion. I was recruited by pretty much every school in the country, and most people, especially in California, thought I was going to UCLA because that would have been a natural step up for me. Sometimes I wonder because my class at UCLA would have been David Greenwood, Roy Hamilton, and Brad Holland, all former next NBA players, along with Kiki Vandeweghe, who came along later. And those were all UCLA greats, but I ended up going to UCLA partly because John Wooden retired that year. But I watched him. I watched all the stuff he did on the floor, and then, he was even. I just heard someone today on ESPN say he's had 36 surgeries on his back, on his knees, on his feet. And that's mind-boggling. But when I look back at those games in UCLA, into his senior year, UCLA 64-4, whatever they were. But you would watch on TV, and usually, if they were playing, Oregon State or someone like that, they'd be up 20 points or 25 points with 5 minutes left. And John Wooden would always take Bill Walton out of the game, to get him off the court, but he wouldn't go to the bench. he would go into the locker room before the game was over. And I was like, that's kind of different because he went in the locker room because they started icing his knees earlier because it took him like an hour after the game to ice his knees, so he would get a little head start on that. But he was even in pain back then. And, got to be one of the top three college players ever. You're talking, Lou Alcindor, now Kareem, Bill Walton, maybe David Thompson, Pete Maravich. But he's right there. And then, unfortunately, he won a championship in Portland. He won a championship as a backup in Boston, where I played against him in a couple series. But he was always injured and he was always hurt. You wonder what his career would have been like if he was healthy, because he could. I think people are in awe of Joker's outlet pass, right? They're really not. Bill Walton was even a quicker and more accurate outlet passer than the Joker is. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
He would rebound. I watch him. He would rebound, and even before he came down, he would turn willies in the air and outlet it before he landed. That was amazing to me.
yeah, and Mo, and he was a terrific passer in the half court. Also, how would you compare his passing game to Joker's? Because
Well,
I think those are two of the better, if not best, big man passers.
yeah, I think they're two different. They're two great passers. I would put the great Sabonis, who
Yeah,
came in later, played with
yeah,
Portland. He's a great passer, but two different ways. Like when you watch the game today, it's just different, right? Centers are allowed to bring the ball down more, like the Joker does. Back when I played, and when Bill played, you weren't supposed to do that. You outletted it. They're also in today's game. Watch the game. There's pick and rolls, a lot of them. We'll talk about that later. But there's also bigs do a ton of dribble handoffs. They dribble handoff of players, then they roll. Back then, bigs never dribbled the ball and never did dribble handoffs. So it's different dribble handoff passing than it is. Bill would catch at the top of the key, hit guys with bounce passes back door, throw lobs to them. But he never had the opportunity to really be a dribble handoff guy, which I think he'd be great at. That's what
yeah.
Luke is.
And most people uh, under 50 today probably know him, or 40 know him more with his TV work, and he always has this bubbly personality. What was he like off the court when you guys would see each other?
Well, he was always like that. I got to know him years ago. Early on, I had retired and I was getting into my coaching career, and I was coaching at Stony Brook on Long Island, a Division II school that was getting ready to go Division I. And that year, that summer, Bob Hill and Bill Walton did a big man camp on campus, and I worked it for them. I was working the big man. I was coaching and working their big man camp. I think we had probably 40 or 50 bigs from all over the country, college players, and I got a chance to spend more time with Bill Walton on the court, as he couldn't hardly move really that much so he would sit in one of those higher chairs like a bar stool on the court, and he had a crutch. I think he had had another surgery, but he was talking the game, and I was doing the drills, helping the players do the drills, and then he would say, okay, everybody come in, everybody come around him, and then he would say something, you need to do this or do that, whatever that was. And players were just locked on him. And I learned early in my career how to speak to players that way. And I was locked on him because he was just spewing this great information and great instruction. And then about halfway through that camp, they had a special get together at lunchtime where the coaches that came in to observe the camp from all over and the coaches working it, we had lunch in the cafeteria. And then after lunch, Bill Walton sat and talked. He was supposed to talk for 15 minutes and ended up being almost an hour. We were late getting back to camp after lunchtime. But he was just sitting and talking about Coach Wooden and the Saints and what he thought. And every coach was writing notes and just listening. And, and he was also spewing, some of those interesting things about life in general. And, but he learned that from John Wooden, be fast, but don't hurry, stuff like that you're like, what does that mean? And he explained that to us. And it's interesting because looking back, there could probably be no more different individuals than John Wooden and Bill Walton.
Yeah.
John Wooden was old school, disciplinarian. John Wooden, when you came to UCLA, you spent 30 minutes learning how to put on your socks and tie your shoes.
Right.
There's a certain way you put on your socks and tie your shoes so you don't get blisters. Everyone did that. And Bill Walton was this long-haired, kind of hippie-ish guy from San Diego who didn't like rules and didn't believe in rules. And John Wooden, you have to cut your hair short. You can't grow facial hair. And, they're different, so different people. There's a story, I think, Bill was sowing his oats because I think they won a championship and then he got MVP and all this stuff. He came back his senior year and he had grown his hair out and grown a little fuzz. And he came to the first practice and he rode his bike to practice, right? And he came to practice and started shooting around. And Coach Wooden came out on the floor and walked over him, say, Bill, can I speak to you for a moment? Sure. And they went over in the corner, and he goes, you need to, cut your hair and shave, And Bill went into this whole thing about it's my right to grow my hair and all this stuff and my freedom and all that stuff. And he goes, yeah, I can understand that, Bill. But, if you're going to be on this floor, on this team, you're going to have to shave all that stuff and cut your hair. Or you can take your bike right back to your dorm and, good luck to you. He rode his bike back to the dorm, got his hair cut, shaved, and went back to practice. But in the later years, there could be no more two closer people that were opposite types of people. But in the end, there's a great picture I saw somewhere of there's a picture of John Wooden talking to Bill Walton when he was a young man. And then there's a picture of Bill Walton holding John Wooden's hand, walking him out onto the court for an award at Pauley Pavilion. Yeah. And that sums up what their relationship was, but also what Bill Walton was.
And don't forget, Bill loved the Grateful Dead. I don't think Coach Wooden had too many Grateful Dead albums at his house.
No. I mean, Kevin McHale told me a story how when Bill went to the Celtics, it was later in his career, and he was sixth man. I don't know if he got sixth man a year, but there was a Grateful Dead concert in Boston, and the players didn't really know it. They said, "You want to come to the concert?" And they go, "Yes." So Bill took them, and of course they had a place on stage, and they came out there, and they're the Boston Celtics, the world champions, and no one noticed them. And then when the Grateful Dead came on, everyone went crazy, and all those guys like McHale and Bird couldn't understand, what's going on. And, that's just, another Bill Walton story that, it's really unfortunate because I saw him last summer here in Vegas at the Retired Players Association. They do an event at Top Golf. It's a driving range out here that has lights and colors and all that. And they do an event for us. And I talked to him a little bit then. And, I never knew he had cancer. I don't think a lot of people did. But he is just, one of those great basketball players ever in college and in the pros, and an announcer that changed the world the way he announced things, and his bright attitude. He had like 3 different careers, and they were all spectacular. And I know I talked to some people. He passed away with all his family around him, and it was a tough battle, but he lived life to its fullest, and he wanted everybody else around him to. Every time I talk to him, this is Bill Walton. He's my idol. I got to play against him, but he's my idol, and he would always say, "Hey Mo, how's your family? How are your kids? How's Ted Owens?" He loved Ted Owens, my old coach at Kansas. He always asked questions about you, not, "Hey, I'm announcing, I'm loving it," stuff like that.
Yeah. He was a special guy for sure, Mo. And
I hope all the young fans out there, please go to YouTube. Please look up his footage from UCLA and Portland Trailblazers, where, by the way, he won a championship, was the season MVP and the finals MVP. Then he went to the big party in Portland, riding his bike, and someone took his bike, and he's like has the trophy and everything. He said, "Hey, by the way, whoever took my bike, please give it back." 2 days later, his bike was back at the arena.
Uh, Mo, I tell you, man, when I hear some of the stories you tell, it, I mean, it must be so special to be part of that NBA basketball community where you guys would just battle each other tooth and nail, and you see each other and give each other big hugs. All the times you battle Big A Train and you guys go to dinner together 40 years later, whatever. That has to be so special.
Well, when you go to these retired players association stuff, and it's so funny because we tell lies and we just kid each other. It's like you're back in the locker room giving your teammates or your opponents crap, and everybody's loving it, and it just, I mean, I don't say this that much, but I mean, I'm part of a community that I think is over 100 years of basketball, whatever, is only like 2,500 people, and all those years. And I played for 12 years, got to know some great characters, some great people, and I don't take that for granted, and I don't take life for granted. I mean, I'm 67. Bill was 71. We've
Yeah.
lost Moses Malone and Daryl Dawkins and a bunch of guys that were too young. And I think one thing that Bill always said, you could tell, right, when you met him or if you watch him on TV, he did everything, laughed about everything, and just enjoyed his life. He always said, "I have the best life ever, ever." Bill, you had 39 surgeries.
Yeah.
Best life ever. Bill, you broke your back playing for Portland, and didn't play for a year and a half. Have the best life ever. Bill, you could have set so many records if you were healthy. Yeah, but I have the best life ever. I have the best life ever. Always did that.
Mo, that is so well said. Let's end it on that. And thank you to the Walton family for sharing Bill with us so many years. He brought a lot of joy to Blazers fans and Celtics fans and people who watched him on TV and of course UCLA fans. Mike Jewell, R.I.P. Bill Walton. He was one of a kind in many ways. That's well said, Mike. And thank you, Mike, for your comment, and everybody out there. We appreciate all your questions and comments. And we're going to get into these conference finals. And Mo, I'm always anxious to get your thoughts on the state of the league. And right now, just in general, your thoughts on the conference finals, and then we'll break down each one.
Well, it's the thing that's really surprised me is that both series could be sweeps and end in 4 games. I never thought that. I thought Dallas would go 6 or 7. I thought Indiana would give Boston a series at 6 and 7, but Halliburton got hurt, and these series. When you look at Minnesota series with Dallas, who's up 3-0. There's 3 things that could have gone a different way, and now Minnesota's up 2-1. Same with Indiana. Indiana messed up game 1, then they lost game 2, and they gave it all their game 3, and those games were winnable. And we've talked about this a lot, Ricky, how 7-game series do this, and but little things. When I coach, I always tell my players, little things make a big difference. 1 foot here, 1 foot there, 1 pivot there. In a series, 1 call here, 1 miss there, 1 turnover here, and it costs you a game, which eventually is going to cost you a series. But the biggest surprise overall is that it's 3-0 in both series. That's mind-boggling.
Hey Mo, let's start in the West and go back over what we saw last night. But I want to go back to, I think it was game 2, because people all, excuse me, people were, and I get it, always kind of focus on the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. But you pointed out to me the last few seconds of the first half in the Dallas, Minnesota. I think it was game 2. Dallas was struggling, and Kyrie's Irving scored maybe 5 points in the last 30 seconds that cut. It may have been a 15-point lead to 10 or 8.
18-point lead to 12.
Right,
So it's 18-point
right.
lead. So you go in at halftime, you're up 18, and you score the first 4-6. Now you're up 24. Different game.
Yeah,
Matt, now you give up those points, and now it's a 12-point lead. That's anybody's game. We all know that.
yeah,
But really, like game two, because people are all over Gobert and all this stuff, but pick and roll coverage is so big in the NBA, and because everybody does it. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know, how close you'll get, because I'm crazy, and my wife Linda will tell you that, because I charted the second game for me for Minnesota and Dallas's offense. I charted it. And what is your guess on how many pick and rolls that the Dallas Mavericks did in game two? How many total pick and rolls did they do?
30.
65.
Damn.
65 pick and rolls or repicks. A repick is you set a pick, they come off you a pick and roll, and then you go repick them, and that's like two picks in one. There's four pick and rolls in different possessions. There was 65 pick and rolls in that game too, and out of those 65 pick and rolls, Dallas scored 38 points. That's a 60% score rate almost, and
Yeah.
that's trouble for you when you know that's happening.
Well, Mo, no, go ahead. I want you to finish that because I got a question for you on top of that.
Okay, so let me finish all this. So also in game two, Dallas Mavericks had 15 dunks. 15 dunks. That's 30 points on regular lobs, on pick and roll lobs, on transition. So, when you let a team have 15 dunks for 30 points, I mean, you need to make them work for their points, and that's a problem. And but here I'm going to tell you, because I'm crazy, right? So I broke down the last 3 minutes of game two. Okay, so at the 3-minute mark, Minnesota was up on Dallas 102 to 101. That's what it was at the 3-minute mark. Then Conley missed a layup, and then Dallas went down and had a pick and roll, and they dunked it. Then Minnesota came down. Conley made a layup. And then Dallas went down. Kyrie took it to the basket, got fouled, but he missed both free throws. So it's 106 to 103 now. Minnesota's winning. Then Anthony Edwards gets fouled, makes 2 free throws. Then Kyrie Irving makes his last second at the buzzer shot clock 3 in the corner. He makes that. So now it's 108, 106. Now there's that baseline out of bounds, if you remember. They called a baseline out of bounds and they gave the ball to Minnesota, but Dallas challenged it. And when they look back on the challenge, it was off Conley out of bounds, but Kyrie fouled him. He grabbed his arm. But when you go back and review, you can't call a foul. You have to see who was out of bounds. So they got the ball back, and Minnesota didn't have a chance to get a shot up out of baseline out of bounds. But Dallas went down and missed, so that's kind of a wipe. So it's 108 to 106 with 28 seconds left. Anthony Edwards goes down. Minnesota seems discombobulated. Anthony Edwards drives hesitantly to the basket and throws the ball out of bounds. Right? He throws the ball out of bounds. Then the pick and roll where Luka gets Gobert on skates with 12 seconds left and hits a 3. Then it's 109, 108. And then even after that, Minnesota gets a great play, and Naz Reid, who's made 7 threes already, gets a wide open 3, and it rattles in and out. You lose the game, that's it. Those things happen at the end of these games. And if you make a turnover like Ant did, say Anthony goes to the basket, gets fouled, he gets 2 more free throws. Now Luka doesn't have a chance to go ISO on Gobert. So all those little things add up. And I think there's the total, besides game 3, both games too were won by 2 or 1 points or something. So it's just close stuff like that. But when you talk about there's 65 pick and rolls in an NBA game for one team, crazy.
Okay, my question to you: what do you think is a typical number of pick and roll in today's NBA basketball, and what do you think Minnesota's counter move to Dallas's pick and roll game should they employ?
Well, they've tried about everything, and some things have been successful, and some things haven't. So, but I would say in an average NBA game, there's 50 to 70 pick and rolls in an NBA game. Each team runs in today's game. Pick and roll, pick and repick, all that stuff. That's just the way the game is now. But there's different ways you can cover the pick and roll. You can hard show and get back to your own guy. You can blitz it. That means trap it. You can soft show. That's what Lopez and those guys are doing when they're way back off the picker. You can trap it with two guys and rotate out of it. You can go on. There's all of these different ways, and I think Minnesota's tried all of them. In my opinion, their best bet, because Kyrie and Luka are the best at it. Luka's better than Kyrie. Kyrie's a better open floor player. He's a good pick and roll guy. But when you watch Luka run the pick and roll, he's 6'8", 240 now. And what happens is Luka will handle the ball, he'll get the pick, and then when the big shows a little bit and gets back, then the guard guarding him gets through the pick, but he's on his back. And Luka's dribbling the ball, and the basket's there, and his defender's on his back, and he won't let him get off his back. So he's making plays with the defender on his back, and he can pull up, or then Gobert has to come and show because the defender's on his back, and then that's when he throws the lob to Lively and them. So it's called a snake dribble or an S dribble. When you come off the pick and roll and the defender's behind you, you cut right in front of them like a snake or an S, and you get them on your back, and you got them. And that's what's happening. So Minnesota can't let that happen. So, even if Gobert's in the game, what they did later, and I think it worked, and then it went away from it, they trapped Luka and they trapped Kyrie, and they made them pass to Lively earlier or P.J. Washington, who catch in the middle of the paint, and then they make them make a play rather than Luka or Kyrie. You get the ball out of their hands, you make one of the bigs make a play. Now they can pass or whatever, they're okay, but you make them make the play, and then at the same time, Gobert is diving right to the basket and picking up somebody and protecting the rim. That's the way I think they have to play it.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, somebody other than Kyrie and Luka has to beat you.
Yes, I mean, we used to beat the Bulls all the time with Michael Jordan. We beat them all the time because we made someone else beat us till they got Scottie Pippen. Then you couldn't do that anymore. But it drives me crazy when the big sits way back in the pick and roll and the guard's trying to fight through. You can't do that against Luka. He's going to own you. He loves that. So you got to change it up. But one thing you can't do, especially if Gobert's in the game, you can't switch. You can't switch because Gobert did the ultimate mistake that bigs do when they switch. And believe me, I've been there. You're out on someone that's quicker, faster, and you can blow by you and you look like an idiot. But if you're up 3 points, you need to stay up and don't let him take a jumper and a three. And if he gets by you, so what? Then you try to recover. But Gobert got back and he challenged the shot. I mean, the guy's 7'2" and he's long. But to that, Luka's like laughing at that. That ain't no challenge. So you can't switch it. It drove me crazy in game 3 when they were doing well. And when they took Gobert out and Towns was actually playing okay. And then the last 3 minutes, they put Gobert back in the game. And guess what Dallas does? Bingo, bango, bongo. We're going to have Luka in the pick and roll, try to get Gobert a switch on me.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Mo. And but like you said, even with all that, Minnesota has been right there in this series. They lost last night by a point, a couple of points the other night. But 3-0, that's just asking a lot.
I was watching because I was looking for a picture of myself and Bill Walton, so I looked back on stuff, and I stumbled on Game 7 in the Garden in '87, I think, and we had come back. Boston was up on us 3-1, and we won the next 2 games and created Game 7, which we eventually lost. But if they can win today, it's doable, but it's very, very tough. And the problem is when you look at the numbers, you know how I've always said that the role players win 7-game series a
Yeah.
lot. Well, that's true to a point, but your stars have to play. And the one star that hasn't been playing for Minnesota is Anthony Towns. You know,
Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
uh, he's just struck. He in the playoffs, he's averaged 20 points and 10 rebounds. He's averaging 15 and 7 now, and he's not stepping up. And he's 2 for 23 and for threes. He's 0 for 7 from threes, taking too many threes. When he posts up, he's a problem for anybody in Dallas. He's a problem for. But Conley stepped up. Edwards has stepped up, but hasn't played great. Hasn't shot great. McDaniels has stepped up. Naz Reid is making a
Making some money.
yeah, he's making an example of you need to pay me more money, even though he's only making $12 million. He
Yeah.
stepped up. Pat Anderson has stepped up, but Kyrie, Luka, when the game's on the line, they're indispensable. Gafford, PJ Washington, have stepped up, and Lively. It's going to be interesting to see if Lively plays tomorrow because he got a pretty good knee in that head.
Yeah.
But when he came out of the game, having PJ Washington and Gafford, 6'9" athletic guys that catch lobs and dunk it is okay, it's great, but having Lively at 6'10" doing that is totally different. So, it's I don't know with Luka and Kyrie if you let them hang in the game and it's a 5-point game with 3 minutes left, they're going to find a way to win. I mean, shoot, Kyrie last game hit a corner three that fell into the bench, looked like Kawhi Leonard when he won the championship for Toronto.
Hey, Mo, do you think some of this is Minnesota's inexperience?
Well, I think so. I mean, but Conley's experience, Townsend's experience, Naz Reid's been around, Gobert's been around. I mean, they haven't been in this situation, but the one guy is Anthony Edwards, who, man, in Game 3 he made that dunk and turned that game around, scored 6 more points in a row, and I'm going, okay, there it is. But then when you're in a 7-game series against good teams like that are playing now, and they have time to adapt and watch film, and the stuff I just told you, and I was going to send that to Chris Finch, but he's got 3 guys doing that same thing, and now you can they trap in Anthony Edwards and deny him a little bit and letting Gobert catch it. They're playing little guys that are 6'5" on Gobert, who's 7'1" in the post, because they don't care if they feed him in the post. Go ahead. So you stuff like that. Unfortunately for Minnesota, you gotta, and I'm saying you should trap the pick and roll, get the ball out of their hands, but it's hard to do that for 48 minutes. And against pros like that are going to find a way to around it. So you got to pick your times. But Minnesota, it's interesting, right? Denver is the team, man. Denver's coming. Oh, no, Minnesota. No one can beat Minnesota. No. Now it's Dallas. It's like
a 5 seed. A 5 seed. They're 5 seed.
Yeah, but a 5 seed in the West means what?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything. OKC is a 1 seed. Over you got. But I just the surprise is that it could be sweeps both ways. It's going to be interesting to see how Minnesota reacts tomorrow because they got nothing to lose, right? So, but damn, Kyrie and Luka at the end, the guards that have the ball in their hand that can make plays.
That's a lot. Our buddy Steve Schroeder's checked in. He late. He thought it was Sunday, Mo. We're gonna get Steve a calendar. We're glad to have you here, buddy. Hey, you talked about Dallas getting 15 dunks. Is that a high number? And as Steve asked, what's typically the average?
15 was only from their 3 bigs. I think a couple other guys. So they're around 17, 18. That's, as surprising as it is to people, like when I told you how many pick and rolls they ran, 65, it's surprising to people, but that's the facts. You just don't really notice it. Same with dunks. There's not as many dunks in NBA games as you think, because what you'll see on ESPN is Anthony Edwards dunking on somebody, and that's great. But how many dunks did he have in that game? He had 1. That's it, 1. I think Minnesota probably had 5 or 6. But with a team that throws lob, like Clippers when they were Lob City, and now Dallas with those guys that can catch lobs, you're looking at 10, dunks in the game, but the interesting thing that when I charted that in the second half, they had 6 dunks off pick and rolls by those bigs in one half, and that's what'll get you. So, to answer your question, Steve, probably 10, maybe.
Yeah. Uh, Edwards is quoted today as saying, I still don't feel like they can beat us even though they're down 3-0. I mean, hey, what else is he going to say? I mean,
Yeah. Is that the same guy that said he wanted Kyrie? That guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where your youth and your inexperience comes out. Because when I played, it was when I was with Milwaukee. If we were playing Philly or the Bulls or Boston, we knew, and Don Nelson or Del Harris or knew when we start a series. Number one, don't say shit, don't say anything. Just if you win, they're a great team. We got lucky, and if you lose, they're a great team. They beat us. Keep them low. You don't give them. What are you going to say? I want Bird. I'm a cart Bird. He'd have 60 on you. So you don't say that stuff. And I know it's great to TikTok and all that stuff. And it's look at how great and proud he is. But you know what? In my mind, that's stupid. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
So just ask Kyrie when he went off in the game one. When did you hear that? Yeah, I heard the young fella say that. All respect to him, but yeah, you got what you asked for. Be careful what you ask for. Don't poke the bear. Come on, man.
Big Mo rules number 400 in the playoffs. Don't say shit.
Don't say shit. Don't poke the bear. But you know what? He's a young player. And you know what? He should say that. I still think we can win this thing. Or else why play game 4 if you're not going to say that?
Right.
And now, if you can feel it and you can play with abandon and get the rest of your teammates to feel it, then you got a chance. And then if you do that, then it's not like they can't win on the road. They beat Denver 3 times in Denver.
Right.
It was defending champs. So can they do it? Yeah. Should they have done it yesterday? Yeah, they should have beat them. Then you're talking a different animal. Let's win game 4 and tie it up, go home. Right? But
yeah,
there's a reason no team has come back from 3-0. Let's slow our roll, people. Anthony Edwards is not Michael Jordan yet. Just slow your roll, back yourself up a little bit. He's got a long way to go. He's a great player. He's going to get better, tough competitor. I think he'll get smarter. He needs to watch more film. That's what I would be doing with him, watching film. See, this is what they do when they W. Here's who's going to be open. Here's your lane. Instead of shooting the 3, you should drive a baseline. No, don't drive a baseline because they're playing for you. See where the help is coming? Go to the middle. All this stuff can help you in a game when you're thinking about it. And he will.
Mo, that you played 12 years in the league, and that was one of your strengths. You always make the right play. Is that just something you learn? Is that studying, I guess? Or do you just pick it up as you go? And maybe you don't, because Russell Westbrook still plays.
Yeah. Well, he refuses to. So, and he did better this year. But yeah, I mean, it depends on who you are. It's your personality. I've always been in high school. I was an All-American in Kansas. I was a 4-year starter. In the NBA, I was a backup, but I played 12 years. But I always played, even when I was in high school. Best player in the team. I mean, best player in Southern California. I always wanted to block shots and pass to my teammates and make the right plays. That's how I grew up playing, and that's how I did at Kansas. Now when I look back, I wish I would have been more selfish. I would have probably got drafted higher and scored more points. I can tell you at Kansas, I never took more than 15 shots in the game, ever.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the pros, then you learn and you have players that help you out, like on the court. Like they'll show you on the court during a practice or during a game. But then you need coaches to show you video. Like you could break down. When I was in Dallas, I want to talk to Dirk. I have the video guy give me every Dirk possession from last night. And I'm gonna break it down first, and then I'm gonna show it to Dirk. The ones I want see. This is when you're posting up at the elbow, and see they're trapping you, and this is where you just pass it out quickly and get it back. All that stuff, and you learn it with time, but you got to be open to it also.
I was gonna say, Dirk was a superstar. Was he receptive
Oh yeah, Dirk, Steve Nash, Mike Finley, Jerry Stack, all of them. That's what make them great players. You know, Kobe, LeBron not so much anymore because he thinks he probably knows them more than everybody, which he might because he's really smart. But all those guys, Steph Curry, says I demand my coaches to coach me. That's what I want from you. I'll tell you, if you ask Anthony Edwards why he's made a big turnaround in his career already at how young he is, he will tell you it's when he played for the USA basketball, the World Games
Yeah.
here. He went to practice here. Steve Kerr was an assistant. They went to practice, and Steve sat him down, and said, "You don't play hard enough." He's like, "What? I'm the best player out here. What do you mean you don't play hard enough?" Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, these guys played harder than you. Guys are playing. You need to play harder. And he realized, you know what? I'm not playing as hard as I can. I need to play harder. You know.
Wow. But you guys hear it out there. This guy is one of the most knowledgeable guys in the game of basketball, Paul Mokeski, and you are watching We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton. Mo, let's go east. We got tip off in a bit. The Pacers, they gotta be just feeling awful, blowing a couple of games. Really, they could easily be up 2-1. How in the world do they get themselves ready to play tonight?
Well, like Rick Carlisle said yesterday in the press conference, I'm telling you one thing: we're going to come out, we're going to come at them hard, and we're going to play hard like we always do. And to his credit, I mean, they blew game one. They kind of got messed around with the call. They blew the game. Then game two was then the last game. And what happens this is what I tell you, Ricky, all the time: 7-game series are long. So they blew game one. They lost game two, and Halliburton got hurt. One of their best players got hurt. Now he's out for game three. Now they came on game three, and you got guys stepping up. Shepard's no, Turner has 22, and Siakam steps up. You got guys stepping up, but they just came up short. You can't get those games back. I don't know if Halliburton's playing today. Boston's not at full strength yet either, without Porzingis. But damn,
Yeah,
Al Horford looks like he's 25 again. I mean, he had 25 points and 5 rebounds, 5 for 10 from the three last game. I mean, he was their starting center last year in a good season, but now he took a backup role because Porzingis is a 28 and 12 guy, and with those two guys, they're hard to beat. But now Horford is stepping up big, but how long can he keep that up? They need Porzingis back to help them, especially against Dallas because they have those bigs. But
I,
it's so mentally when you blow a game and you say, okay, we'll get it back in game two, and that doesn't happen. Okay, we're giving an all-out battle in game three, and you still don't win, and you probably should have won. Man, that's tough mentally.
yeah. I was reading about Porzingis today. It sounds like if they really needed him tonight, they could run him out there. But with the situation,
Yeah,
they're
that's why
going
you,
to,
that's why you win those games, so you don't have to. I
yeah,
mean, he could go another 2 games and he'd get another 5 days of rest for the Mavericks probably. And this other like Pacers, they lost by 3 and they had a chance at that game. McConnell had 23 points, 9
yeah,
rebounds, and 6 assists. But
yeah,
all that effort was for nothing. You still got the L. Oh,
yeah. And what happens when you talk about it, they had guys to step up, but those guys are usually coming off the bench,
yep.
stepping up.
And,
So,
and now you got like we've talked about this too. These teams know, Boston knows, and Dallas knows. We need to end this now. End it. Why? We don't want to play another game. Maybe get someone hurt. We want to end it now because I think the first game is on the 6th, no matter what. So you get time to rest. You get time to get your guys back. So they're gonna usually, teams that don't understand that they might blow the 4th game. We're already up 3-0. Let's see what happens in this game, but we're down in the second half. Let's just go home and win it at home. Not Dallas and not Boston. They know they want to end it today and tomorrow so they get some rest and get some players back. Because guess what? If one team doesn't win, today or tomorrow, they got to play another game and the other team doesn't. It's a big battle.
Mo, I texted you on one play I watched the other night, and it was just so disappointing to see. Miles Turner, the 7-foot center for the Pacers, caught the ball on the low post against Drew Holiday, who's probably 6'4" tops. And Drew pushed him out 15 feet from the basket. Mo, you would never let a guard do that to you.
No, that's why I used to say I got a midget on me. Give me the ball in the post. Everyone, when you played back then, if you had a mismatch like that, you went right to it. And but he's a skilled player. He shoots threes. But come on, man, you to jump
But
up
where's the
yourself.
toughness on that, though?
We saw who's tougher, right? Holiday.
Yeah.
You can't teach toughness, man. I'm sorry.
That's just like I hated watching that play. Well, Mo, let's look a little bit more at this game tonight. Any way Indy can do this, they're going to be at home. They got the crowd. They got great fans there. I don't see how they could play any better than they played the other night.
Yeah, I mean, but they can play the same. I mean, they played with effort, they played with energy, and so what else you got? Well, number one, what you got to do is make Al Horford dribble the ball. You don't let him stand out there. He can't drive by you. So why are you letting him shoot open jumpers? Run at him, make him drive and do something else because you can't let him go 5 for 10 from the three. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he got time to look at the.
Yeah. So you got to get faster with your rotations. You got to run at him. You got to know your personnel. You know the people you got to run at. Get off the 3-point line in whatever way possible. Tatum's been playing great, 36 and 10 and 8. Brown 24. Holiday's just kind of floating around. He's made big plays. He had a big end one. He plays defense, but Horford, you gotta maybe get them in foul trouble. Let's look at what the Boston bench did last game. Okay, let's see. Tillman, Hauser, Pritchard, Brissett, don't even know his name. They played a total of 50 minutes and scored 4 points.
Wow.
2 for 7. They got 5 rebounds. So guess what? You need those guys to get on the floor. And how do you do that? You drive the basketball and get them in foul trouble. And then, so that's one of the things that you can focus on. We need to get Brown. We need to get Tatum. We need to put pressure on them. So they got to play defense and then hopefully foul them. Because if we can get to their bench is no names. Their bench is, come on, they're okay players, but they had 4 points in 50 minutes. Let's get to them. All their starters are doing what they're doing.
Wow, yeah. With this series 3-0 and 3-0, I think we could take a little sneak peek at the finals. I know you hadn't gone in depth on that yet, Mo, but just in general, how do you see these two teams matching up?
Well, I think
if everybody's healthy, if Porzingis, I'm assuming, is going to be ready to go.
I think Boston has an edge over Dallas if Porzingis is healthy. If Porzingis is not healthy, I think Dallas. No, I said Boston has the edge if Porzingis is healthy. If he's not healthy, I think Dallas has an edge because they're going to run that pick and roll, with their bigs. So, it's going to be interesting. I think Porzingis, even if Porzingis is not healthy, it's going to be a long. I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be long. The other guy you got to watch is Luka, right? Watch him walk around and watch his knees, man. Mm. And I don't know, man. If I'm the other team, I ain't buying that. I think he's a little show. We used to do that back in the day too, man. I'm gonna come out and lay up line. I'm gonna lick him, but I ain't hurt. But legitimately, he can't get tired, and he's a little beat up. So guess what? You need to make a move on defense. So what he does is he finds the guy that doesn't handle the ball a lot, and that guy goes to the corner, and you watch Luka play. Puts his hands on his hips, on his knees. He's just resting. You don't have to move. You got to put him in the action. Dribble handoffs, pick and rolls, make him run up and down the floor. But it's going to be a good series. I think Dallas has as good a chance. I told you a while ago, Dallas is my dark horse.
They were, yeah.
After they made those moves and got those bigs, PJ
Yeah.
Washington and Gafford, with the immersion of the rookie Lively, who's playing spectacular if he's healthy. But it's going to be a good series. I don't even know. I would think Boston has home court, right? I would think they have home court. So
I think Boston had. If they still go by the best record, I think it would be Boston.
let me say this too. Home court is very important usually, but if you're Minnesota or even Dallas, a home court is not like the Boston Garden. Even though it's not the real Garden, it's still those fans are still in there, and it's still the parquet floor, and the standards are still up there, and that has something right there. Yeah, Steve, don't get me started on Luca crying all the time.
Yeah.
You know what? If I was a ref, I would never be a ref. I'd be teeing him up so fast. He wouldn't play him. Stop crying. He was jumping around after a call. I don't know how he didn't get teed. The referees are letting players do a lot more now with their antics. When I played and even when I was coaching, if you did this, like shoot off a referee, that's automatic tee. You do it all the time. But Luca complains after every call. You know what happens? The refs get tired of it. If you're a coach and you're coaching and you're yelling at your players every play, they tune you out. They don't listen anymore. You have to pick your times, and the same with talking to or getting on a ref. You can't. They're like, if I was a ref, I'd be looking for any time. If there's a 50-50 play, I'm not giving him the call ever.
Hey, Mo, I think Mike is right here. He's never seen a 7-foot ref.
No. I think Al's, man.
Al Wood?
Al Wood, 6'5". There's only a couple former NBA players that are refs. And,
is Workman a ref?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're right. You know what else you haven't seen? A lot of 7-foot head coaches either. Right. Don't be on that.
Hey, Mo, do you think the fact that they played helped them become better refs?
I think so. I think you're a better coach if you played, and you've been there. It always drove me crazy when some little coach was telling some big guy, "This is how you should guard Shaq." Shut up! You never guarded Shaq. No idea. I think knowing the game a little more of the intricacies of what goes on really in the game. But not necessarily because you know what, being a great player doesn't make you a great coach at all.
Right.
Probably the opposite, because you can't. Michael Jordan can say, "Hey Mo, do this." Just because you can do it doesn't mean I can do it. You got to be able to relate to everybody. So, but I think, if you play and now you're a ref, you probably maybe have a little more sympathy for the players a little bit, but you kind of know. You could tell, hey, I know you're grabbing them on the inside of your hand. I know that. I used to use that move.
Hey, Mo, we're headed down the home stretch, man. I was going through the archives today, just looking at some old pictures of Bill Walton, and I ran across this one of my favorite pictures with our good friend, the one and only Dr. J, friend of the show. And I always talk about, Mo, you played the right way. You did the right things on the court. And here's another example. Can you see that?
No.
Oh my goodness. Let me try it again here. I've been trying to get this thing on here for weeks. No?
Let me help you. Is that it?
That's it. That's it. My share screen's not working, but Mo's is. That's Julius Erving taking it, charging on Paul Mokeski. Put it back up there, Mo. and hopefully our viewers can check that out. Now, what does that look like to you guys? That looks like a charge to me. And Mo, I am sure you got that call.
Yeah, probably not. Because number one, look at who it is Dr. J, and it's Paul Mokeski. Number two, look where it is. I'm wearing a green jersey. Dr. J's wearing a white jersey. He's at home in Philly. In Philly, I pretty much 99% chance that was called a block on me.
Well, those were some good-looking road jerseys y'all had back then too. Paul, I am so sorry I can't get this thing to show correctly.
Well, they saw it.
But anyway, and another thing about that picture, look how big Doc's hands are.
Oh,
that ball looks like a grapefruit in his hand.
That's an advantage too. People don't. I have pretty small hands. Moses Malone had small hands. It's an advantage to be able to control the ball like this with one hand. Paul Pressey, who played point forward for us at 6'6", had really big hands too. So he could do that, pull the ball back. But if you could do this with the ball and finish differently at the rim, that's a big advantage. I couldn't do that. I had to go up with two hands mostly. So,
That last question, which team has the best chance of maybe extending these series and maybe putting a little scare into Dallas or who's the other team? Or the Celtics? Does Indy or Minnesota have a better chance?
If Halliburton can play a little bit tonight, maybe. But in my opinion, probably Minnesota has a chance because they have Anthony Edwards. Towns can play better, right? He should play better. And now people have been on him to play better. And they beat Denver in Denver 3 times. So it's not, and that was a week ago. So they're not all bothered. Now Dallas has a good crowd. I was there for 5 years. They're really loud, but I think probably Minnesota has a chance to extend in this their series more than Indiana does.
You think Chris Finch is reminding them of what they did in Denver?
Sure, but I feel bad for him because he's coaching from the back row. It's just not the same. You're not up front. Can't talk to the refs. You're not communicating to your players as well. So it's really frustrating for me to watch Coach Finch having to coach from the back row instead of walking on the court like the head coach. And that matters. That matters when you're losing games by 1 and 2 points. That your head coach, your leader for all these years, your leader that got you past Denver is now like in the second row. Even though he's communicating and talking, it's just not the same.
Okay, we're going to call it a night. Get ready for this game. Hope everybody has a great rest of the Memorial Day. Once again, our condolences to the Walton family. Thank you, Bill, for your contribution to this great sport.
Throw it down, big fella. Throw it down, big fella.
For Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. You guys have a great night. Peace. See you next Monday. We'll be back at our regular time. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.